I've seen some fantastic rugby players in my time, the Elder Brothers, Campo, Tim Horan. But for me, for pure entertainment value, you can't go past the props. And I think that's just because props just look different to normal human beings. Chris Handy, the former Wallaby prop, tells a lovely story where he was with his dietitian and she said to him, "Chris, you know you are what you eat." And Buddha replied, "I know, but I don't remember eating a short fat bastard with glasses." If ever a prop runs with the ball, it's funny. If ever they kick a ball, it's hysterical. The most famous drop goal in Australian rugby history is not Stephen Larkham's against the Springboks. It's Matt Dunning's playing for the Waratahs. And unfortunately for Matt, he was the only guy in his team. In fact, he was the only person in the whole stadium that didn't realise the Waratahs were desperately trying to score a fourth try to pick up a bonus point. And when he swung around and slotted this goal and he's turned around expecting all his teammates to jump on top of him and celebrate, and they would have stood there just shaking their head. Props are not known as being prolific try scorers, and as Fitzy mentioned, we're all happy to be part of the Cauliflower Club because we know we're not going to dip our hands into our pockets too often. But if ever a prop does score a try, by the end of the night, it is the greatest try the world has ever seen. And I remember one year, it was midway through the season, we were just outside the 4, and although I know we won it, I can't recall the score. But there's one thing I remember, and to me it says a lot about the men who front the scrums, the men we call the props. We won a line out near halfway and the backs went on a run and flankers quickly ripped the ball and second phase was won. Another back then crashed it up and drove towards the line. Another maul was duly set to attack it one more time. The forwards pushed and rolled that maul, they got the tough work done. The last man in played loose head prop and wore the number 1. The ball was pushed into his hands, he held it like a beer, then simply dropped to score the try, his first in 15 years. Then later, once the game was done, he sat amidst his team, he led the song and called himself the try-scoring machine. But it wasn't until the night wore on that the truth was finally told. Just 2 beers in, he'd scored the try and also kicked the goal. By 6 o'clock, the try was scored by barging through their pack. He carried 2 men as he scored while stepping round a back. By 7, he'd run 20 yards, out sprinting their quick men. He beat the last line of defence with a Jonah Lomu fend. By 8, he'd run from near halfway and thrown a cut-out pass, then looped around and run again. No one was in his class. By 9, he'd run from end to end. His teammates stood in awe. He chipped and caught it on the full and swan-dived as he scored. By 10, he'd drunk a dozen beers, but still his eyes did glisten as he told the story of that try to anyone who'd listen. His chest filled up as he spoke. His voice was filled with pride. He felt for sure he would be named the captain of that side. By night's end, he was by himself, still talking on his own. The club was shut, the lights were out, and his mates had all gone home. But that's why I love my front row. They simply never stop, and why I always lend an ear when a try scored by a prop. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't do one. But we are all here today because of the props, so can I ask everyone please to recharge their glasses and be upstanding and drink a toast to those rotund little men who provide us with so much joy and who willingly put their head where no sane person would. So to the props, cheers.